Have you ever wanted a fast-paced, action-packed story that gets straight to the point? Well, that's exactly what you get with the Gospel of Mark in the New Testament. Forget long introductions and detailed genealogies. Mark jumps right into the action, and it's a story you won't want to put down. So, who was Mark? Tradition tells us he was John Mark, a companion of the Apostle Peter. Imagine him listening to Peter's first-hand accounts of Jesus, the miracles, the teachings, the raw emotion. It's believed that Mark's gospel is essentially Peter's memories, written down for a Roman audience who valued action and power over long philosophical debates. This is why Mark's writing style is so direct and punchy. His favorite word is immediately. Seriously, count how many times you see it. Jesus is immediately healing someone, immediately calling disciples, immediately moving on to the next town. It creates this incredible sense of urgency and momentum. The book kicks off with John the Baptist, a wild figure out in the desert, preparing the way for someone far greater. Then Jesus appears, is baptized, and the heavens open up. A voice declares, "You are my beloved Son. With you I am well pleased." From that moment, the mission begins. There's no slow build-up. Jesus immediately calls his first disciples fishermen like Simon, Peter, and Andrew, who drop their nets without a second thought to follow him. This sets the tone for the entire book. When Jesus calls, you act. One of the most striking things about Mark's gospel is its focus on Jesus as a powerful servant. He's not just a wise teacher, he's a man of action. He commands unclean spirits, ante obey. He heals the sick, from a man with leprosy to a woman who had been suffering for 12 years. He even calms a raging storm with just a few words, leaving his disciples utterly amazed and asking, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Mark is constantly showing us Jesus' authority, not just through what he says, but through what he does. But here's the twist. Right in the middle of all these powerful displays, Mark introduces something called the Messianic secret. Jesus often tells people he is healed not to tell anyone about it. Why? It's a bit of a mystery, but one popular idea is that Jesus didn't want people to misunderstand his mission. They were expecting a political king, a military leader, who would overthrow the Roman occupiers. But Jesus' kingdom wasn't of this world. He was a different kind of king, a suffering servant. He needed people to see the full picture, which included the cross, before they could truly understand who he was. The turning point of the gospel happens in chapter 8. Jesus asks his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They give him a few. Answers John the Baptist, Elijah. Then he looks them straight in the eye and asks, "But who do you say that I am?" And Peter, bold as ever, declares, "You are the Christ." It's a huge moment. But immediately there's that word again. Jesus starts teaching them that he must suffer, be rejected, and be killed, and then rise again after 3 days. This is a complete shock to the disciples. Peter even tries to rebuke Jesus for saying such things. They had just acknowledged him as the powerful Messiah, and now he's talking about suffering and death. It didn't make sense, but Jesus makes it clear. To follow him means to deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow. It's a path of service and sacrifice, not power and glory in the way the world understands it. This theme of servant leadership is central to Mark's message. Jesus himself says, "For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The second half of Mark's Gospel barrels towards Jerusalem and the final, dramatic week of Jesus' life. The pace gets even faster, the tension higher. Jesus enters Jerusalem to cheering crowds, waving palm branches and shouting, "Hosanna." He then cleanses the temple, challenging the corrupt religious authorities. Head on, this act seals his fate. His enemies, who have been plotting against him all along, now have the excuse they need to get rid of him. Mark gives us a vivid, almost minute-by-minute account of Jesus' last days. We see the Last Supper, where Jesus shares the bread and wine, foretelling his sacrifice. We feel the agony in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he prays in deep distress, while his closest friends fall asleep. We witness the betrayal by Judas, the arrest, and the series of sham trials, where false witnesses twist his words. Throughout this ordeal, Jesus is largely silent. The man of action and authority is now a vulnerable, suffering servant. He's abandoned by his disciples, mocked by the soldiers, and condemned by the crowds who just days earlier were shouting his praises. Mark doesn't sugarcoat any of it. It's raw, it's brutal, and it's heartbreaking. The crucifixion scene in Mark is particularly stark. There are no long speeches from the cross. Jesus cries out one powerful line from Psalm 22. my God, why have you forsaken me?" It's a cry of profound human anguish. Then, with a final shout, he breathes his last. At that very moment, the curtain in the Temple de One, separating the holiest place from the rest of the world, is torn in two from top to bottom. And a Roman centurion, a soldier who had seen countless deaths, looks up at Jesus and declares, "Truly this man was the Son of God." Isn't that incredible? It's not a disciple, not a follower, but a Roman soldier who finally gets it. He sees in Jesus' suffering and death the ultimate display of divine power and love. The secret is out. The identity of Jesus as the suffering Son of God is now revealed for all to see. Now, the ending of Mark's Gospel is a story in itself. The earliest and most reliable manuscripts end at chapter 16, verse 8. The women go to the tomb, find it empty, and are told by a young man in a white robe that Jesus has risen. He tells them to go and tell the disciples, but they flee from the tomb in terror and amazement, and they say nothing to anyone because they were afraid. And that's it. It's an abrupt, shocking ending. Why would Mark end it there? It almost feels like a cliffhanger. It leaves you, the reader, on the edge of your seat. It forces you to ask, what happens next? What will I do with this news? Will I be like the women, frozen in fear, or will I go and tell the world that Jesus is risen? It's a powerful challenge. It pulls you directly into the story and makes you a participant. Later scribes, probably feeling this ending was a bit too abrupt, added a few more verses, which are often called the longer ending. These verses describe Jesus appearing to Mary Magdalene, to two disciples on the road, and then to the 11, commissioning them to go into all the world and preach the gospel. While these verses neatly tie up the story, the power of that original, sudden ending is undeniable. So, what's the big takeaway from Mark's Gospel? It's a story of powerful action and profound sacrifice. It shows us a Jesus who is both the authoritative Son of God and the humble, suffering servant. It challenges our ideas of power and greatness, and it invites us, through its fast-paced, urgent narrative and its shocking ending, to answer that crucial question for ourselves. Who do you say that I am? It's not just a story to be read. It's a call to action. If you've never read the Gospel of Mark, I highly encourage you to give it a try. You can probably read the whole thing in one sitting, like an exciting short novel. It's a roller coaster ride that will leave you breathless and, most importantly, thinking deeply about the man who changed the world. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. See you next time.